There's a few. My name is Dan Andrews. I'm a producer at WTTW. We're very proud to be putting this together. I'm going to moderate a panel, a very exciting panel, some of the filmmakers and some of the subjects, and another member of the community who continues some of the work you've seen here currently. So I don't know if y'all want to march up, and then I'll introduce you. Sharon and Peter, Suzanne, Giselle, Winnie, and Pamela. Winnie and Pamela here? I hope they are. All right. So, okay, as I march up, Sharon Karp. Sharon, please wave. Worked on all three of these films. Member of the Kartemquin Film Collective at the time this was done. I also did a documentary focused on the Chicago Women's Graphic Collective, and I mentioned this because there's a wonderful correlation we're going to be talking about, I hope, between activism and filmmaking. And her most recent film is being used by the Lakota tribe in their struggle to protect sacred water from uranium poisoning. Peter Kuttner here on the end. Worked on Clifton, and I think I saw your name in the others as well, yeah?
Not on Viva La Casa.
Okay, but on Winnie Wright, yeah. And he has a long career in filmmaking, including decades in the IATSE Camera Union. And he was a member of Rising Up Angry, which is something I hope we'll also get to talk about a little bit. Suzanne Davenport worked on Winnie Wright, a member of the Chicago Women's Liberation Union at the time. Very involved in public education since then, involved with CPS, and does advocacy curricula at UIC. And the news has told us that UIC is alive and kicking, which is really something, I must say. I think there are bios in the programs too, so you can get a little bit more. We also have up on the stage Giselle Mercier. Giselle is the executive director of Elevarte Community Studio in Pilsen, and she works in art education and art therapy, and a lot of the mural from Viva La Casa is an example of kind of the work that grew into what she's been involved in. So we have a chance to talk about contemporary practice as well. We also have Winnie Such up here. All right. I'm very jealous of this woman. I was 11, you didn't come to my house. Winnie, of course, was Winnie Wright, age 11. And Pamela Taylor. All right. Pamela Taylor from Now We Live on Clifton, the girl in the trio. Yes, correct? Okay. So these are all films about kids, which is really quite incredible. And I just want to start with the subjects a little bit. I wanted to hear from Winnie and Pamela what it was like to be approached and what the experience was like to make a film like this in 73, 74.
Well, it was exciting. It was exciting and kind of interesting. My sister was very politically involved in many organizations, like with Peter. And my family was a working class family, but with very liberal beliefs, and they were looking for just a regular family, and they decided to pick us. And they literally followed us around for like a year. It was a little strange, but anyways. It was interesting, and it's really nice to have that on film, because we never have like a little 8mm film anything, so to have that as a piece of history for me, just personally, is really nice.
Did you ever break a board?
Did I make a what? Oh yeah, I did, yeah.
Good.
Probably at some point, yeah. That was really embarrassing for me.
As a viewer, it's incredibly moving, and you gave the filmmakers this amazing gift for a sequence. I know it was probably embarrassing.
It's a little interesting.
Yeah, no, it's very good. And for you, Winnie?
Oh, it was embarrassing. I remember the first time that they came to film, I went and hid in the closet. And yeah, well, you saw me in the film, like pushing my friend. Yeah, I was a little embarrassed, and she kept on like waving to the camera. But after a while, you kind of got used to them being there, and then they were like kind of the family. And then after they were gone, I was kind of lonely because I really got used to them being there.
So was it as Pamela said, about a year-long process?
It was.
Yeah.
I think I turned 12 when they were doing it.
I want to actually turn this over to the filmmakers a little bit about this. These films were all funded by, I think, the Cole Educational Foundation. Cole Educational Foundation funded the films, is that correct, all three of them? Right, so there was a grant that allowed the filmmakers,
Not the mural film.
No, Viva La Casa is not.
no, but the other two were. And actually, La Casa, we'll talk about that in a second, its origins. But they're about half-hour films, approximately. Why? Why half-hour?
Well, I think we saw them as, we hoped they'd be educational films. We thought a 30-minute film, teachers could show it in the school, and then they could show one day and one another day, things like that. So, and you could put them together and have an hour program somewhere else. And also, I think for the subject matter, I don't know, I think half an hour was a good segment.
Didn't we talk about TV at all? Possibility of getting them
Sure.
on TV? I think that had something to do with it too. And I know that I spent I did a lot of work on the Clifton film, and we talked in the collective, in the group of filmmakers, we talked a lot about what was on TV for kids. And in the early 70s, it was a lot of Sesame Street and something called Zoom or the electric company or something. But we talked about the aesthetic and a lot of the close-up work on Clifton of the cutting the vegetables. And there are a lot of vegetables. You guys are very healthy.
Actually,
And a lot of the shots had to do with what we were seeing on TV at the time.
I was watching that sequence thinking about part of the methodology in order to do something for a year and the cost of this is 16 millimeter film. So it means you're shooting about 12 minutes at a time, approximately, on a roll of film. You can't just, video cameras allow us to roll forever now. You couldn't do that. You probably couldn't afford to bring a lot of film to any day's shooting, but you could run the audio for a long time. And if you have close-ups of dinner prep, then you can have a whole dinner conversation under 6 well-done close-ups. That's what kind of came to me today, the second time I've seen that sequence.
That's the miracle of editing.
Yes, it is. It's the miracle, and the miracle of your process. But I was thinking that the genius of it was about showing it in a classroom. And it will be on TV finally. I don't know if it's been on TV before. Has it? Did you guys ever get it on television? Well, finally.
On Channel 11.
Yeah, in 2016. We're going to air it, actually, just wanted to clarify, March 24th is the Thursday night that Clifton and When You Write will be aired at 9. Viva La Causa came about in a different way. It began at Columbia.
Yes, Tina Brown was studying film at Columbia. I think it was her class project. And she was very interested in the Mexican mural movement. And we went out and worked hard to bring the feeling of the community, of struggle and the strength of the movement, of the history of the people into the life of the mural, and it was very exciting.
Did you have any sync sound interviews in that film?
Any what?
Sync sound interviews where people actually, because nobody's on camera talking. Yeah, I think you probably used different cameras, right? So there's a difference in the technology here that resulted in different kind of films, actually.
There was more money for the kids' films.
Yes, right.
Like, we did it without any budget at all, and we did everything ourselves. We figured out how to do it. And
How much time did you spend at the site with those people?
well, actually, Tina and her friend Robert shot it, and I don't really know how long they worked on it. But we went back often and got the pickup shots we needed. And then watch the mural develop into this wonderful, beautiful thing for the community.
Where did you show the film?
Well, we've shown the films at schools. We had a screening at the school was it last year or so? And hopefully Tina's shown it around too.
Giselle?
Yes.
So Giselle, you weren't involved in making these films, but these films, in different ways, but specifically Viva La Causa, really speak to what you've been doing. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the evolution of this kind of work. Here's this community center. Let us get the kids involved in exploring art and their history and their community and making something bold on the wall. At this point, how's that grown?
Well, I first wanted to say that the history behind your film is so valuable, especially for Latino communities here in Chicago. You're talking about Columbia College, and it just struck me that Mario Castillo, who is featured, his mural is featured in the film, actually became a faculty member of Columbia College. And this is really serendipitous because I actually live where I bought the house that Mario Castillo's mom used to live in. I live in Brighton Park, and I've always been enamored by the Mexican culture. I'm not Mexican, I'm from Panama. And my communities here, when I came here, were about connecting to the Puerto Rican and Mexican communities here. And both films talk about the whole issue of the white flight and also gentrification, and also touch upon the idea of placekeeping. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but there's a big movement now that is about placemaking. But we like to call it in Elevarte placekeeping, because these murals and the way that people of color or underserved people keep their place in a community is by branding it. And the murals that you saw were the beginning of it. So I am, I'm really flattered being sitting here with all of you and intimidated in a way too, because the history behind all these films is so magnificent. So I run a small community-based organization called Elevarte, and it used to be Pros Art Studio. I don't know if any of you remember. It's in Pilsen, and we work with young people so that they learn their own history. And they've been doing things all like murals, painting murals, but also recording history. And this is a magnificent way of doing it, through video, through film, telling the stories, and then preserving those stories. So I know that I'm going to tell my teacher at Brighton Park that's doing Walls of Hope that she needs to show La Causa for her students that are going to be painting murals this summer. So.